All right, so this is a video about something I've really wanted to share with others. It was an insight that I had over the past week, but it's made sense. Well, it's allowed me to make sense over everything I've noticed over the past 2, 3, 4 years of my life.
First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is no answer.
While America's infrastructure.
We fought for moral reasons. We stood up for what was right.
This nation will rise up.
So the basic concept is the compound effect, or what some might know as it's called the slight edge. It's a concept from 2 books, but it's really just a concept from basic reality. And this is the answer. Straight up, this is the answer if you want to be very successful in any area of your life. Now, a prerequisite to this is that you have to have the right programming. You have to have the basic resonance, the basic vocabulary of understanding how the world works. So if you don't understand how the world works and how business runs, I'm going to be talking about success in the context of business, even though this would apply to relationships, to hobbies, to stuff like that. But I'm going to talk about business and making money because that tends to be the most important thing for a lot of people that watch my videos. So, prerequisite. If you don't know what prerequisite means, that's a big sign you need to upgrade your vocabulary. But a precursor to you having this compound effect really work and work very well, work in the best way for you, is that you have to have the right programming. And that means you have to have the right understanding, the right words within yourself, but not just the right words. You have to have the right accurate definitions, and you have to make sure that you don't have negative energy trapped to those words. So if you want to know about that, watch other videos on my channel. One is about how to permanently eliminate stress. And another one is on how do I change my life? That's what I called it. It's about the levels of the mind and how this stuff works. But now when you have that, right, at least basic, your basic programming is good or good enough. Here is now what's going to guide you through to what you actually really want, which may be money. Again, could be anything. So here's an analogy, is that you take a water hyacinth. It's a type of flower, right? And it grows in ponds. And that water hyacinth will eventually cover the entire pond over 31 days. But for the first day, even the first week, even the first 2 weeks, it's just in a little part of the pond is these water hyacinths. And then they grow, right? And they multiply. And then even by day 26, 27, 28, it's still like halfway across the pond. And then in the final couple days, it takes over everything. That is how success works. It's for a long ass time, it looks like nothing's happening. And it's just as easy to do the thing that you know you have to do. Like if you're building a business, specifically the type of business that I work in, which is the Techno-Tutor distribution empire, you call it. In that business or in any type of sales business, it just comes down to talking to new people, presenting the product, and then out of that, there will be a certain amount of people that end up getting the product and then using it. So, you just got to go talk to people. You got to just go network with people. But that's just as easy to do as it is not to do. And especially if your programming initially is all messed up, you're going to find all the excuses not to do it. Because a lot of us are walking around with a self-sabotage program. So you can now do the thing, but it's not enough to just do the thing one day. You got to do the thing over and 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 over again. And guess what? Even then, you may still be like the water hyacinth on day 12. You're like, is this really working? But don't judge something. This is a big trap that people tend to fall into, is that we judge our efforts based on how we feel about it. I'm going to say that again because this is so damn important. You need to understand this. We tend to base our understanding of how effective we are, how successful we are, based on how we feel. That is a trap to keep you enslaved forever. Instead, base how you see your success on, are you actually just doing the right thing that you know works because you've seen other people do it? It's a proven formula. Base it off of that. And then, are you just doing it long enough? Are you doing it correctly? Are you doing it consistently? Because if you do that, And as long as you're not accepting weakness and limitation within yourself. Like I see a lot of people too, a lot of guys especially, that want to build a business, but they're still accepting some form of weakness, such as drinking alcohol or smoking weed. And yes, I know you can find the exception out there where they drink and they smoke and they're still successful. Guess what? That's not you. Don't do that. Even anyway, then what kind of life is that, right? Where they're still trying to escape from something. Why else would they be doing that? But the point is, you could do the right things correctly long enough consistently. Well, technically it wouldn't be the right things, right? If you're smoking and drinking. Because guess what? When you smoke and when you drink, it's telling yourself, I'm okay where I'm at. I'm going to justify where I'm at, and I'm going to now suppress these feelings, and I'm going to basically tell my brain it's okay to not hit my goal because I'm still going to feel good anyway. And that is the trap. Like that is the core point, is that is the trap, right? Or you might also have, I don't know, people just accepting some bullshit limitations on yourself. So if you're doing the right things long enough consistently, you might still be trapped again because it comes back to programming. But assuming you're doing the right things, which isn't that hard, okay? It's not that hard to do the right things. You do it over and over. Again, you may not see the result per se, and you might not even feel good about it. Like straight up, you may not feel good about it. But what do you do in that situation? Are you the kind of person, right? This is a part of the situation where now you ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Am I the kind of person that's going to make some excuse and then jump to something else? Or am I the kind of person that's going to fucking persevere and make it happen? I remember this when I was building my e-commerce business. And initially, for the first 8 months, I wasn't doing shit. I was even following the right formula. It's so fascinating. At least I thought I was following the right formula, and I was literally living with a guy who was making $5 million per year in revenue, about 20% profit. So $1 million a year. And he was what, 18, 19? He's from Thailand, right? Some of you might say, that's very impressive, right? So you would think, I'm living with this guy. I'm getting training from this guy often, like every week, multiple trainings. You would think I would be able to be at least kind of successful. And my goal at the time was to make $2,000 a day in profit. Right? $2,000 a day in profit. Because I saw this kid making like $6,000 to $8,000 a day in profit sometimes. I'm like, okay, you're not that much smarter than me. I could at least do like a quarter of that. That's at least what I thought. But first, guess what happened? I was all messed up in my own programming, self-sabotage, doubt, belief, all this stuff messed up, right? Procrastination. I was still like allowing myself to like drink and all that. And so I was basically keeping myself sabotaged and stuck. I would make some money and then boom, collapse. Make some more money, boom, collapse. Then I am so grateful. I went to a gin event, if you know what that is, and I met a specific group. There's a group that's I'm affiliated. Well, they're part of gin, which is called Techno Tutor. And a lot of the guys that were in Techno Tutor started to explain to me why I kept sabotaging myself and why I wasn't making $2,000 a day in profit. And they explained something called emotional stability, which is a result of your programming. Because if you're unstable in your understanding of reality, you're emotionally going to be unstable. You're going to do stupid things like I was doing, aka drinking, taking shortcuts, like not actually understanding the business properly. So I wasn't doing everything perfectly. So they helped me with that. I was very skeptical when I first met them. Thankfully, they were persistent with me and patient with me, and they showed me the way. Then I started to change my programming at an unconscious level, thanks to Techno Tutor, which it showed me. And that worked very well. So fast forward about 6 weeks of doing that every day. And guess what? In those 6 weeks, so I'm starting to change. I noticed like little changes here and there with how I was thinking about stuff. I was less reactive. It was cool. Even that alone, being less reactive, was totally like a huge upgrade for me. But I had one day in particular where I just started to make more money. And then not to make it too technical, but someone put a bot on my store. It must have been a competitor or something. That was then messing with my data. It was basically triggering purchases. So it looked like I was making all these sales. But then I looked at my bank account and there weren't sales being made. And it was like the ultimate test for me because I realized, wow, I want to give up right now. Like, this is insane. How is it still not working? I was like livid. I was very pissed. But then I called Kien and I was like, Kien, I feel like this is just a test. I feel like this is that moment where I'm like 3 feet from gold, you know, the Napoleon Hill stories, all that stuff of like, don't give up, never give up. You can experience failure, but you never give in to the failure. And I remember I called Kien, he talked me through it and he helped me make some lists in TechnoTutor about how this was symbolic of all the times in the past when I gave up on shit. Because I had tried many businesses before. And that was what happened. And he helped me realize, he's like, hey man, guess what? You're going to live what? Another 60, 80 years? I don't know how long you're going to live, but you're going to devote your time to something. All right? You're going to be putting in the work on something. So, in that, are you going to put in the work on actually creating something for real for yourself? Or are you going to create wealth and a business and an asset so one day you and your family can be taken care of? Or what else are you going to do? You're going to go jump to something else and have the same thing happen and you time loop? Right? I have other videos on time looping, which is where you don't face a point and you don't transcend it. So then a year, a week, a month later, whatever, you face the same point. Because again, that's your programming. And you have to transcend that programming. So face that. I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'll just figure it out. Put in TechnoTutor. I know how to figure this out. Within a day, got it resolved, right? Found some new software, got the bots removed from the store. All that, it actually ended up being a good thing. Then it was like within a week, then business totally took off. But it was like I had to face that point and I had to prove to myself I am going to persevere. Now, could I have done that without TechnoTutor? Honestly, I really doubt it. Like, I really doubt it because I would have then come up to another thing that would have sabotaged me. Because even with TechnoTutor, I came across many things where I almost sabotaged myself, but because TechnoTutor increases your processing ability, your ability to process and handle reality, because it's helping you clean up everything, it was like I could see the self-sabotage pattern starting to play out, and then I caught it, worked through it right there, and then I transcended the point. Then I became really good at that, right? And then I had to handle then COVID happening, and it messed with everything in my supply chain. But which, by the way, I did hit my goal then. On the last few days of the year, I was making like $2,000 to $4,000 a day in profit. That was cool. Then I had to morph the business because then COVID happened. Plus, I had a point of self-honesty where I realized, right? So back to this slight edge, which is a theme throughout this. Slight edge meaning, what do you do consistently every day that pays off? I had to look and I was like, wow, I'm selling pillows to people who probably don't need them. And it's, perpetuating slave labor in China because the people in those factories are not being paid well. And then what? I'm just making money from that? Like, is that really, if I'm going to devote my life, my one precious life to something, am I going to sell fucking pillows or am I going to change the world? Pretty obvious when you look at it like that. But when you're in it and you get trapped by it and the money becomes so seductive and it's so easy to make money. I mean, if you've ever had $4,000 hit your bank account multiple days in a row, it's a pretty interesting feeling, right? Well, it was way more than $4,000 hitting my bank account, but the 4K was the profit, right? That's vocabulary, right? I mean, I had days where I was making like 12 grand, but I was spending 8 grand on ads. That's a lot, right? That takes a lot of emotional stability to have 8 grand every day going out on your credit card, right? But then the 12 grand comes in and it's like this dance you have to do. But I looked at that for myself and I was like, okay, if I can make this work, and I saw how, again, not how easy it was to build a business with TechnoTutor, but how it became simple. Because again, you just use it to program yourself. So if you have goals, you program it into your unconscious mind, and then it becomes pretty damn obvious what to do. So that worked very well for me. But then, so I'm sitting on all this money, and then I was able to then take half the money because I knew, again, that I saw the self-sabotage program starting to come in. I started spending more money, and I was like, no, do not spend the money. So I had to transcend that. And then, right, invested a lot of money with Kien and some other things. So then the money was kind of locked away. And then I forced myself to then look, and I said, okay, if I'm going to devote my precious life into something great, what am I going to focus on? I asked myself, what is the biggest problem in the world right now? And it's the fact that everyone is walking around sabotaging themselves. People are uneducated. People are not living their full potential at all. Even someone like an Elon Musk or like a Jeff Bezos, they're still hindered because guess what? They have a team of employees. They have their shareholders. Like the current system is set up in a way where Elon Musk isn't even getting the best talent. Jeff Bezos isn't even getting the best talent to work on their projects. And I just say them because they're like billionaires on track to be trillionaires. Like that's the idea of success for a lot of people. But even like, I don't know, someone who might think Oprah is successful or Gandhi is successful or whatever. Like even people like that, they're still limited because the average person in the world is severely undereducated. Severely. The average person in the world could not go pick up, like, look at the bookshelf, right? Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes. Do you know what that book is? Do you know that in every elite family's home, most elite families' home, they have that book and the kids read it? Do you know in that book, they explain this common trend in society that a non-affluent person doesn't even realize, which is the fact that if there is attention being placed on a certain group of people or a certain thing, that is almost definitely where the real decisions are not happening. So if you're all up in arms about politics and the debate and Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj and all that shit, guess what? They're just little puppets and the real people are elsewhere. Why don't we all read that as a child, right? Can the average child even fathom that book? I mean, I'm working through the book and it's pretty high vocabulary. And I use TechnoTutor so I can process it and understand it and then actually live my life differently. Right? So now I don't get worked up about politics. I actually look at and I research who's the one really controlling the shots. How do I get into those groups of people? Because I want to change the world for the better. Right? So now every day, my slight edge, my focus, the thing that I'm dedicated to is creating systems so that we can educate the masses. So one, we disrupt the current education system because it's an abomination of what education is. If I even say the word education, you probably get triggered because you probably hated school. Then we can now create a whole new generation of kids that are geniuses, that can read books like that, right? That can go to the library. Like you study Warren Buffett. A lot of people seem to respect Warren Buffett because he's very wealthy. Do you know by the time he was 12 years old, he had read every book in the Omaha Public Library on wealth and money? By the time he was 12. Pretty cool. Why doesn't every 12-year-old have that? It's possible. It's literally possible. We have the tools to make it happen. We're showing it. We have 4 and 5-year-olds that are starting to do that. So that, right, that's what I'm putting my compound effect into. Not e-com, not investments, not consulting. Even though I understand the benefit of selling stuff online like e-commerce, even though I see the benefit of having investments, and I do have investments, right? Or I see the benefit of consulting people. But if someone isn't able to change their programming, right, that we started at the beginning of this video on the prerequisite for everything else to work, if someone isn't doing that, the consulting is only going to be very surface level, right? And you may have had an awesome coach or an awesome therapist or an awesome whatever, right, consultant. But guess what? You still scratch the surface because you did not know how to get into the first 7 years of your life where the majority of your programming is held. And that, you right now, your thoughts, everything, is the sum total of your early childhood that got programmed into you and the different beliefs and different things you accepted about yourself, and then it's just grown. And yes, you have a mind, and some people are quick at learning, right? So they can read some books, and they can understand stuff. But that is still in the mind. It's not in your knowing. When you get stuff into the knowing part of the brain, you know it. You don't have to think about it. You become super effective. That's how I built the e-commerce business so well, and that's now how I've built my other businesses very well. That's why now my wife and I have a 10-acre estate, and it's awesome. That's why we're now building our network and getting into the political realm here in Minneapolis as well as in the federal government, right? We now know Congress people. We're working on Senate. We have ambitious plans with what we're doing. That's what I'm putting my compound effect into, of what I'm devoting myself every day. Even when I don't see the results, sometimes for years. Guess what? That one day will grow to the point where it's inevitable. And everybody's going to know what we're doing. TechnoTutor, Self-Perfected, the principles, the political parties, all of that will be mainstream one day. Is it going to be in 2 years? Is it going to be in 10 years? I don't know. but I have a pretty damn good feeling it's going to be sooner than later, because the rate of our growth and the reaction from people of saying, this is really cool, I want to be part of this, I've been looking for this, the reaction from the market, you could say, which is really just society, that is what gives me a very good understanding and proof that we are really onto something with what we're doing. Because again, the average person, and this is the main problem we're solving, they're programmed to sabotage themselves, to hate themselves, to not understand reality, and to basically go through life like a zombie that's just addicted to social media, Instagram, instant gratification, right? If you made it this far in the video, 20 minutes or whatever this is when it's edited, congrats, because most people can't even handle sitting down listening to this type of a talk. However, how much of this are you going to process, right? What are you going to do differently? Are you going to now change and start to do the thing every day that's going to make your life better? Or are you going to do that for like 2 days because you get hype about it? And then it's just as easy. Remember, it's just as easy to not do it. So what do you need? Well, there's a couple things that I would suggest, right? You can make the decision yourself. One is a group for accountability. The best group for that is TechnoTutor, the distributors specifically. You thought I might say Self-Perfected, which Self-Perfected is also a great group, but a real way to measure accountability is how effective are you in the system at persuading people to join us and actually change themselves to become the best versions of themselves. And that is from TechnoTutor and distributing that. Second thing would be a group to plug into where you have a culture. So once a week, Self-Perfected, we have a hangout, right? We do video challenges. We support each other. The group is growing. It's getting, the experience of being in the group is getting even more dynamic because we keep growing. So there's also that. Also, what I would suggest would be some sort of writing practice. DIP Lite is a free course online. It's wonderful for that. So you can get your mind out, you can get old memories out, and then let go of them through self-forgiveness. It's also very effective. Then the last thing I would say would be just a real conversation. That would be very helpful. So you can book time with me. I put my Calendly link in the description here, and I'm offering basically a free 20-minute consult where I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to hear you out. What is your problems? What are you coming up with? And then what are you hitting? What are your walls you're hitting? And then in different ways that I can support, I'm happy to recommend things to you. So you can take 20 minutes, find it on the calendar. Don't abuse it. Take it seriously. If you book a call and you don't communicate with me and you don't show up, I will not let you book another. But for those who are serious and you're actually willing to be held accountable and you want to really go to the next level, I'll make time for that. Because again, that's my purpose. You can see it in every one of my videos. I'm not bullshitting you. I have integrity. And guess what? You're now seeing that and you're going to keep seeing the result of that. So that is it for today. That's a lesson in the compound effect. You might want to watch that again because there's so much in here. But you got to do the right things long enough consistently, but you got to do it from the right starting point, which comes back to your programming, your principles, who you are. And when you can link those and then you can be around the right people and you do that day after day after day after day, you will then be part of this new 1% of the 1% that we're creating. And that is who will rule the world, who will create the world in a way so that we have systems so then everybody can become a self-leader, so then we can end there being a need for leaders. We can end there being a need for rulers, where everyone can rule themselves. That is going to take time. It's going to take effort, but that is what I'm working on every day. I have 150, 200 other people working on that every day as well, and I suggest you join us sooner rather than later. All right, that's enough for today. See you. Hey everyone, so I don't sponsor my videos at all, but I do like to at least say, for those who resonate with the message that I share, I do offer both personal mentorship as well as business mentorship. In personal life, I've made a lot of moves over the past few years. Now I have a beautiful wife, homestead, and all of that. In terms of business, I have one of my companies went from 3K to 30K a month in profit, as well as I have another business that I'm at over 150K this year in investments and things like that. So if that resonates and you want to actually make a positive impact with that type of money, just reach out, send me a message, and we'll chat.